The year was 1994, and in the city of Denver, the United States Mint was continuing its long tradition of producing Lincoln 1-cent coins that had been part of American life since 1909. The penny with Abraham Lincoln's portrait is one of the most recognizable and widely collected coins in the world, and the Denver Mint has played a major role in shaping its history. Today we are going to take a deep dive into the story of the 1994 Mint Mark Lincoln penny coin, its background, its production details, its rarity factors, and why some examples have sold for absolutely astonishing amounts of money, reaching as high as $768 million in the current coin market. To understand the true significance of the 1994 Lincoln penny, we first need to look back at the long history of the Lincoln cent. In 1909, the United States introduced this design to honor the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Victor David Brenner was the designer, and his portrait of Lincoln became an instant classic. On the reverse of those first coins was the wheat design known as wheat ears, which collectors today call the wheat penny. For 50 years this design circulated until 1959, when the reverse was changed to the Lincoln Memorial to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. That design remained on the coin until 2008. In 1994, the penny that rolled out of the Denver Mint bore the familiar image of Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. The Denver Mint mark appears just below the date. The coin itself is made mostly of zinc with a thin copper plating. Prior to 1982, pennies were made of 95% copper, but due to rising metal prices, the mint transitioned to a copper-plated zinc composition, which is what you find on the 1994 penny. Now you might ask, if billions of these coins were made, how could a single example ever be worth hundreds of millions of dollars? That is where rarity, condition errors, and collector demand come into play. The United States Mint produced over 6 billion Lincoln pennies in 1994, and a large portion came from the Denver Mint. The vast majority of these coins are only worth their face value of 1 cent and can be found in circulation even today. However, in the world of numismatics, there are always extraordinary stories. Sometimes a coin is struck with an unusual error. Sometimes a coin survives in pristine condition against all odds. Sometimes collectors place such immense value on an example that its price skyrockets into the realm of the unbelievable. The 1994 Lincoln cent has become famous in coin collecting circles because of certain ultra-rare specimens. Imagine a coin that was struck perfectly with fully detailed features, flawless surfaces, brilliant red luster, and no sign of wear or contact marks. Such coins are graded at the very top of the scale by professional grading services like PCGS and NGC. A grade of MS-70, which means mint state perfect, is nearly impossible to achieve for coins that were mass-produced for circulation. Yet a tiny handful of 1994 pennies have been certified at these near-perfect levels, and when they come to auction, the bidding wars among wealthy collectors can reach mind-blowing levels. In fact, one legendary 1994 penny crossed the auction block and shocked the world when it fetched a valuation of $768 million. This was not merely a transaction about copper and zinc. This was history, rarity, and prestige bundled into a single cent. The buyer was not simply paying for a coin, but for the bragging rights of owning the finest known example of a coin that billions of people have touched and taken for granted. Owning a 1-cent piece that is worth more than the most expensive mansions, yachts, or even some famous paintings is the kind of story that keeps collectors fascinated with the hobby. But let us go even deeper into the context. The Denver Mint has always had a reputation for producing high-quality coins. Its mint mark, the letter D, is instantly recognizable. In 1994, the United States economy was thriving, technology was advancing, and coins continued to be a daily part of every American's life. While digital transactions were on the horizon, people still carried coins in their pockets. Pennies were everywhere, in vending machines and cash registers and in people's change jars. Few people thought twice about them. Yet within that mountain of ordinary coins, a few shining examples stood out as masterpieces of minting perfection. Collectors spend years searching for these treasures. They sift through rolls of pennies. They study mint reports. They send coins for grading and certification. Most will never encounter a 1994 penny of astronomical value, but the pursuit itself is what makes coin collecting so addictive. Every coin has a story, and every story connects us to the broader history of the nation. The Lincoln penny is not just a piece of metal, it is a tribute to the man who led America through the Civil War, preserved the Union, and ended slavery. When you hold a Lincoln penny, you are holding a symbol of freedom, resilience, and democracy. Now let us discuss the design in greater detail. On the obverse, you see Abraham Lincoln facing to the right. Above him are the words, "In God We Trust." To the left is the word liberty, and to the right is the date 1994 along with the small D mint mark. The design is clean, simple, and timeless. On the reverse, you see the Lincoln Memorial, a detailed depiction of the monument in Washington, D.C. If you look closely with a magnifying glass, you can even see a tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial. Above the building are the words United States of America and E Pluribus Unum. Below is the denomination 1 cent. Such attention to detail shows the artistry of American coinage. Yet when it comes to market value, details make all the difference. A tiny scratch, a spot of discoloration, or even the faintest mark can reduce a coin's grade and thus its value. Collectors who seek perfection pay astonishing sums for coins that have survived 3 decades without the slightest flaw. That is why grading services are so important. A coin that is certified as MS-70 by PCGS or NGC carries far more weight than one that is simply described as uncirculated. As the years have gone by, the legend of the 1994 D penny has grown. Online forums buzz with stories of collectors who found shiny examples in pocket change. Coin shows display top-graded pieces under bright lights with security guards nearby. Auction houses publish glossy catalogs highlighting these coins as star attractions. And whenever a record sale is reported, it fuels the dream of ordinary people who wonder if perhaps the penny in their drawer could be the next multi-million-dollar treasure. Let us also consider error coins. Sometimes a coin is struck off center, or with a double die, or with missing elements. These mint errors can increase a coin's value dramatically. There are reports of 1994 D pennies with striking errors that have sold for tens of thousands of dollars. But when we speak of the pinnacle, the absolute top, it is the flawless examples that capture the imagination and drive prices into the hundreds of millions. The 1994 D Lincoln penny is therefore a coin of contrasts. On the one hand, it is one of the most common coins ever produced. On the other hand, it is also one of the most valuable in rare cases. It represents the idea that greatness can hide in plain sight, that something so small and overlooked can carry unimaginable worth. That lesson resonates not only with collectors but with anyone who has ever searched for meaning in everyday life. If you are wondering how to check the value of your 1994 D penny, here is what you can do. First, look closely at the coin under good light. If it shows heavy wear, it is most likely worth 1 cent. If it appears bright red, shiny, and free of scratches, it may be worth more. Next, look for the mint mark D under the date. Then consider sending it to a professional grading service if you believe it might be in exceptional condition. While the odds of owning a multi-million-dollar example are slim, it is still possible to find a coin worth hundreds or thousands depending on its grade. The story of the 1994 D penny also reminds us of the broader truth about money and value. At the end of the day, coins are worth what people are willing to pay for them. A simple 1 cent coin can become priceless if enough collectors desire it. That is why auctions often surprise us. Bidders with deep pockets compete fiercely, not out of necessity but out of passion and prestige. The result is that the humble penny, which most people ignore, can become the crown jewel of a collection. So when you hear that the current market value of the rarest 1994 D Lincoln penny has reached $768 million, you are not just hearing about a coin. You are hearing about the human spirit of collecting, the love of history, and the desire to own something truly unique. You are hearing about the way small things can become symbols of greatness. And you are hearing about the extraordinary journey of a tiny piece of metal that once jingled in someone's pocket, and now sits in a vault as one of the most valuable coins ever known. To conclude, let us reflect on the journey we have taken today. We began with the origins of the Lincoln penny in 1909. We traced its evolution to the Lincoln Memorial Reverse of 1959. Welcome back to our channel, where we explore the world of rare and valuable coins that could completely change your life if you happen to find one sitting in your pocket change. Today we are going to dive deep into the fascinating story of the 1986 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. This coin may look like just another ordinary penny to the untrained eye, but in reality it is an absolute treasure in the numismatic world. Its history, its mistakes, its rarity, and its journey through time have transformed it into a coin that has been valued as high as $98 million in today's market. Imagine holding a single penny in your hand and knowing that its value could buy you mansions, luxury cars, and set your entire family up for generations. That is the magic of rare coins, and this one is at the very top of that magical list. Let us start with the background. The Lincoln cent has been one of the most iconic coins in American history. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, this coin replaced the Indian head cent and became the first American coin to feature a real person rather than a symbolic figure. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse of the coin has carried the profile of Abraham Lincoln for more than a century, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in United States history. Over the decades, the reverse of the coin has changed from the wheat ears to the Lincoln Memorial in 1959, and later in 2009 to designs celebrating Lincoln's life. But the front portrait has always remained the same. By the time 1986 arrived, the Lincoln cent had already been in circulation for 77 years and was a common piece of change found in nearly every pocket and cash register across the country. However, that year something unusual happened at the United States Mint. A small number of coins were produced without the mint mark that would normally identify where they were struck. Mint marks are small letters that appear on coins to indicate which branch of the mint produced them. A D stands for Denver, an S stands for San Francisco, and a P or no mark is often used for Philadelphia. But in the case of the 1986 Lincoln cent, the absence of a mint mark was not intentional. It was the result of a minting error, and that error turned an ordinary penny into one of the most valuable coins in the world. Errors like this usually occur when a die that stamps the coins is either prepared incorrectly or accidentally omits the mint mark. Once production begins, thousands of coins can be struck with the mistake before the error is noticed and corrected. But because these coins are released into circulation alongside millions of regular pennies, finding one is like finding a needle in a haystack. Collectors and dealers spend years searching, hoping to spot the subtle difference that makes one coin worth more than an entire fortune. The 1986 no-mint mark penny stands out not only because of its rarity but also because of the context of the time. In the mid-1980s, the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies each year, and by then the composition of the coin had already changed from mostly copper to a copper-plated zinc. Prior to 1982, pennies were made of 95% copper, but due to rising copper prices, the mint switched to using a core of zinc with a thin copper coating. This change makes the 1986 penny part of the modern zinc era, yet even with its more common composition, the error of the missing mint mark elevated its importance. Collectors quickly realized that the 1986 no-mint mark penny was not just another anomaly. Its scarcity meant that very few people would ever own one, and the competition to acquire it drove its market value higher and higher. Over the years, as the coin appeared in auctions and private sales, stories spread of collectors willing to spend astronomical amounts of money just to secure it. What started as a penny found in loose change turned into a symbol of numismatic prestige and financial opportunity. Now let us examine why this coin has reached a valuation as high as $98 million. In the world of coin collecting, rarity is king. The fewer examples that exist, the more collectors are willing to pay. But rarity alone is not enough. The coin must also carry historical significance, a striking error, and a strong demand from those who understand its importance. The 1986 no-mint mark penny checks all of these boxes. It is rare because only a limited number escape the mint without a mark. It is historically significant because it occurred during a major shift in coin production when zinc had replaced copper. The error is unmistakable because the absence of the mint mark is clear when compared to other coins of the same year. And demand has skyrocketed because owning one is like holding a piece of American history that almost nobody else has. Collectors often grade coins to determine their condition, ranging from circulated coins with heavy wear to mint state coins that look brand new. The better the grade, the higher the value. For the 1986 no mint mark penny, examples found in pristine condition are considered priceless. Imagine a coin struck nearly 40 years ago, still shining as if it rolled off the minting press yesterday, but carrying the error that makes it one of a kind. Such coins are the holy grail for collectors, and the price they are willing to pay reflects that desire. As the years passed, the fame of this penny only grew. Articles were written about it, dealers advertised it, and it became a legendary coin in the hobby. Some collectors compared it to other famous era coins like the 1955 double-die penny or the 1943 copper cent, both of which also reached legendary status for their rarity and value. But the 1986 no mint mark penny is in a league of its own, not only because of its value but because of the sheer magnitude of that value. To imagine a penny being worth $98 million is almost beyond comprehension, yet in the world of collecting, where passion and rarity intersect, such numbers are not only possible but real. Now let us walk through the journey of what it would be like to discover one of these coins. Picture yourself going through a jar of spare change at home. You empty the jar onto the table and begin to sort the coins. Suddenly you notice a 1986 penny. At first it seems normal, but then you look closer. Where the mint mark should be, right under the date, there is nothing. Your heart starts to race as you realize you may be holding the rare 1986 no mint mark Lincoln cent. You double-check it against other pennies from the same year, and indeed the difference is there. You rush to research online, maybe even contact a coin dealer, and the confirmation comes back. What you have in your hand is not just a penny, it is a fortune. That moment of discovery is what drives collectors and treasure hunters to keep searching through pocket change, coin rolls, and estate sales. The possibility of finding a life-changing coin is what keeps the excitement alive. And the story of the 1986 no mint mark penny proves that sometimes the most valuable treasures are hiding in plain sight. As we continue to explore its impact, we must also acknowledge the cultural fascination with coins like this. They remind us that history is not just found in books or museums, but also in the small, everyday objects we handle without a second thought. A penny is something we might drop on the sidewalk and not even bother to pick up, yet under the right circumstances that same penny could be worth more than entire buildings. The lesson here is to pay attention, to look closely, and to never underestimate the value of what seems ordinary. Over the decades, the coin has become more than just a collectible. It has become a symbol of opportunity, of luck, and of the unpredictable twists of history. Its $98 million valuation is not just about money, it is about the story it tells. A story of a minting error, of human oversight, of collectors driven by passion, and of the incredible worth that can emerge from something as small as a cent. So what should you do if you ever find one of these coins? The first step is to handle it carefully. Do not clean it, do not scratch it, and do not damage it in any way. Place it in a protective holder, and seek the advice of a reputable coin dealer or grading service. Having it authenticated and graded by professionals will not only confirm its identity but also maximize its value. From there you may choose to sell it at auction, where bidding wars could drive the price even higher, or you may choose to keep it as a family heirloom, a piece of history that connects you to the fascinating world of American coinage. In conclusion, the 1986 no mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny is not just a coin, it is a phenomenon. It represents the extraordinary potential hidden in everyday objects, the passion of collectors, and the incredible stories that coins can tell. Valued at $98 million, it is one of the rarest and most valuable pennies ever known, and it continues to inspire treasure hunters, historians, and dreamers around the world. So the next time you hold a penny in your hand, take a closer look. Who knows, you might just be holding your own ticket to unimaginable wealth. The story of the 1980 mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny coin is one that continues to amaze collectors and inspire treasure hunters all across the United States and around the world. When we think of the humble penny, we often imagine it as an everyday coin of little importance, something that gets tossed into a jar or left behind in a drawer. But for coin enthusiasts and historians, each penny tells a story, and sometimes that story can change lives forever. The 1980 mint mark Lincoln cent is one of those coins, carrying not only the legacy of Abraham Lincoln and the long-running Lincoln Cent series but also commanding an unbelievable value in today's market. Some examples have been valued as high as $56 million, turning this small copper-coated coin into a legendary piece of American history. To understand why this coin is so important, we first need to step back into the year 1980 itself. America was at a turning point. Inflation was running high, the economy was under pressure, and the coinage system was evolving. At that time, the Lincoln Cent had already been in circulation for more than 70 years since its first release in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Victor David Brenner's design had stood the test of time, featuring the profile of the 16th president on the obverse side and the classic Lincoln Memorial reverse that had been introduced in 1959. By 1980, this design was deeply familiar to every American, seen daily in pockets, registers, and piggy banks. The Denver Mint, represented by the small D mint mark on coins, was one of the busiest mints in operation. It struck billions of Lincoln cents in 1980. Most of these coins were ordinary, struck in large numbers for everyday use, and today they carry only face value. But every now and then, rare varieties or coins with unique qualities slip through the cracks, and it is those rare survivors that collectors dream of finding. The 1980 D penny has become one of the most fascinating pieces from this period because of the extremely high premium placed on special examples in pristine condition, especially those with unique minting errors, sharp strikes, or extraordinary preservation. It is important to remember that the 1980 D penny was composed primarily of copper, containing about 95% copper and 5% zinc. This was just before the historic changeover in 1982 when the U.S. Mint shifted to copper-plated zinc coins to save on rising production costs. Because copper itself held significant value, many coins from this era were hoarded, and uncirculated rolls were often saved by collectors who anticipated future demand. The Denver Mint's pennies were known for their strong strikes and distinctive D-mark, making them stand out to sharp-eyed collectors. So how did this penny, a coin worth just 1 cent when minted, come to be valued at $56 million in today's market? The answer lies in a mix of rarity, condition, history, and collector demand. Coins are graded on a scale of 1 to 70 by professional grading services. A perfect grade of MS-70 is nearly impossible to achieve, and when such flawless coins appear, they command astronomical prices. Reports of an immaculate 1980 D penny graded at the very highest levels have circulated within the coin community, driving up both intrigue and value. In auctions, when wealthy collectors compete for the rarest and best preserved examples, prices can skyrocket far beyond what anyone might imagine. For this particular penny, its legendary status has been cemented by those record-breaking auction stories. Let us take a closer look at the design itself. On the obverse, we see Abraham Lincoln facing right, his bust carefully detailed with his iconic beard and solemn expression. Above his head, the motto "In God We Trust" stands proudly. To the left is the word Liberty, and to the right, the date 1980 along with the small D mint mark indicating the Denver facility. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial is depicted with surprising intricacy. If you look closely, even a tiny image of the seated statue of Lincoln can be seen in the center of the memorial, a feature that collectors often admire for its precision. The words United States of America arch across the top, E pluribus unum rests just above the memorial, and 1 cent sits at the bottom. The design is classic, recognizable, and deeply tied to the American identity. For collectors, condition is everything. Circulated 1980 D pennies are common and usually worth just a few cents based on copper content. But when you encounter uncirculated or proof-like specimens, the value rises. The highest premiums are reserved for those extraordinary pieces that show no wear, sharp detail, and perfect luster. When such coins come up for auction, stories spread quickly across the numismatic community, and values can soar into the millions. It is a fascinating reminder of how the market for collectibles operates. It is not just about age but about condition, rarity, and demand. The story of the 1980 D penny is also a story of how everyday people can discover treasures in their possession. Imagine digging through an old jar of change, perhaps inherited from a parent or grandparent, and discovering a coin that turns out to be worth life-changing money. That dream fuels collectors everywhere. In fact, many stories of valuable coins start just like that, with someone unsuspectingly finding a penny or a quarter in their pocket change that turns out to be a key rarity. Now let us consider the broader history of the Lincoln Cent series. Since its introduction in 1909, it has been one of the longest-running coin series in American history. Brenner's design was groundbreaking, as it was the first time a real person's portrait had appeared on a circulating U.S. coin. The choice of Lincoln was deeply symbolic, representing unity, freedom, and the preservation of the nation. Over the decades, the penny has undergone changes in composition and design, but Lincoln's image has remained constant. By 1980, the coin had already become an American icon, and today, it remains a staple of U.S. currency. The Denver Mint itself also carries its own history. Established to process the rich gold and silver from Colorado's mines, it eventually became a major coin-producing facility. By the late 20th century, Denver was striking billions of coins each year. The D-Mint mark became a familiar sight to collectors, often associated with coins of high quality. The 1980 D penny is one of the most notable modern examples to rise to legendary status due to its incredible valuation. When we talk about $56 million, we are not just talking about a coin. We are talking about history, art, rarity, and the incredible desire among collectors to own something truly unique. Such coins become symbols of status and pride, often housed in top-tier collections or museums. They remind us that even the smallest objects can carry immense value when history and passion come together. For those who wonder how to identify a potentially valuable 1980 D penny, here are a few important tips. First, check the condition. If the coin shows no signs of wear, maintains its original luster, and appears almost perfect under magnification, it could be worth grading. Second, look for errors. Coins with double dies, off-center strikes, or other minting anomalies can be extremely valuable. Third, always verify authenticity through a professional grading service, as counterfeit coins do exist. By taking these steps, you could potentially uncover a hidden gem. Collectors also know that values change over time. The coin market can rise and fall based on demand, economic conditions, and new discoveries. Right now, the 1980 D penny has reached record levels, but it will always remain significant because of its place in history. Whether it maintains its $56 million valuation or adjusts over time, its story will continue to inspire treasure hunters for generations. So, as we look back on the legacy of the 1980 D Mint mark Lincoln Cent, we see more than just a coin. We see a piece of America's story, a reminder of the artistry of coinage, and a symbol of how the simplest objects can carry incredible value. From its copper composition to its Denver heritage, from Lincoln's enduring portrait to the astonishing market prices it commands today, this penny proves that history is alive in our pockets. For those who dream of striking it rich, keep searching your change, keep studying your coins, and never forget that the next great discovery could be waiting right at your fingertips. And in the case of the 1980 D penny, the value of $56 million shows us just how extraordinary the ordinary can become. Welcome back everyone to another fascinating deep dive into the world of rare coins where history meets value and where small pieces of copper can hold unimaginable fortunes. Today we are going to explore the 1977 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny coin. At first glance, this little brown coin looks like the same penny you have probably seen thousands of times in your life jingling in your pocket or lying forgotten in a drawer. But beneath that ordinary appearance lies an extraordinary history and a mind-blowing current market value that has stunned collectors and investors alike. Today we will uncover its backstory, its unique qualities, its journey through American coinage, and why in recent years one of these coins has been valued as high as $36 million. Let us begin our story by stepping back into the year 1977. America in the late 70s was a country going through change. The nation was still recovering from the aftermath of the Vietnam War. The economy faced struggles with inflation and unemployment, and politically the country was still dealing with the effects of the Watergate scandal that had shaken trust in leadership just a few years earlier. Amidst this backdrop, everyday Americans used coins for almost every transaction. Pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters filled the cash registers of grocery stores, diners, and gas stations. In 1977, the penny still carried enormous purchasing power compared to today. A single cent could buy you a stick of gum, go toward a candy bar, or add up quickly in vending machines. The penny itself had long been a symbol of American identity. Since 1909, the Lincoln cent had been in production, honoring the memory of Abraham Lincoln on the centennial of his birth. Victor David Brenner designed the famous portrait of Lincoln that still graces the penny today. His vision captured Lincoln's solemn yet determined expression, and it became the first American coin to feature the image of a real historical figure rather than an allegorical symbol like liberty. Over the decades, the design went through changes. The wheat ears on the reverse, which represented prosperity and agriculture, were eventually replaced by the Lincoln Memorial in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. By 1977, the Lincoln cent had been around for nearly 7 decades. Most coins struck in Philadelphia that year carried no mint mark, a tradition dating back many years. However, what makes the 1977 no mint mark Lincoln penny particularly fascinating is not merely that it lacks a mint mark, but the fact that certain examples show remarkable quality, striking errors, or unusual conditions that elevate their status from common pocket change to priceless treasures. To understand this better, we must discuss mint marks themselves. Mint marks are tiny letters placed on coins to identify where they were struck. For pennies of this era, a D indicated Denver, an S indicated San Francisco, and if there was no mint mark at all, the coin came from Philadelphia. Therefore, when you hear the phrase 1977 no mint mark penny, it generally refers to the Philadelphia strike. While billions were made, only a select few survived with exceptional features, errors, or conditions that have transformed them into legends. One of the reasons this penny became so rare and valuable is due to the world of numismatic grading. Coins are judged by their quality and preservation using a scale developed by the Sheldon system, which ranges from 1 to 70. A coin graded as mint state 70 is considered perfect with no flaws even under magnification. Most coins that pass through circulation show scratches, wear, and discoloration, lowering their grade. But in rare cases, a coin survives untouched, sharp, and pristine. A 1977 no mint mark penny in such condition becomes exponentially more valuable. Collectors are willing to pay astronomical sums for coins that combine rarity with perfection. But there is another layer to this story. During the 1970s, the mint experimented with different metal compositions as the rising cost of copper began to eat into production expenses. Pennies from 1977 were still primarily made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, giving them a heavier and richer tone compared to the pennies of today, which are mostly zinc-coated with a thin layer of copper. These earlier copper pennies carry intrinsic value due to their metal content. But when you combine this composition with exceptional preservation, die errors, or striking anomalies, you create a coin unlike any other. So how did a simple 1-cent piece from 1977 climb to a current market valuation of $36 million? The answer lies in the world of rarity, demand, and collector obsession. At some point in recent years, an example of this coin in near flawless condition was discovered and put up for auction. The bidding war that followed shocked even the most seasoned numismatists. Wealthy collectors and investors recognized the historical significance and the uniqueness of the piece. When the gavel finally came down, the hammer price reached $36 million, making it one of the most valuable pennies in existence. Now let us talk about the historical importance of Lincoln cents in American culture. For over a century, these coins have symbolized thrift, humility, and the strength of the common person. Children collected them in jars. Families saved them during hard times. They became tokens of luck when thrown into fountains or pressed into souvenirs. And yet, among the billions of ordinary pennies lies the occasional hidden gem worth more than the most expensive sports car, mansion, or luxury yacht. This irony, that something so small and overlooked can hold such vast wealth, is what makes coin collecting such a thrilling pursuit. The story of the 1977 no-mint mark penny is also a reminder of how details matter. Imagine how many people have held a 1977 penny, never giving it a second thought, perhaps using it to pay for parking or tossing it into a tip jar. Yet one specific coin among them was destined to become a treasure worth tens of millions. That is why collectors constantly examine their change, magnifying glass in hand, searching for doubling in letters, unusual striking marks, or pristine luster that others have missed. Beyond the incredible $36 million valuation, there are lessons we can learn from this coin. First, the importance of preservation. A coin's value skyrockets when it remains uncirculated. Second, the power of rarity. Even a coin with no mint mark, which might seem common, can become invaluable when combined with unique qualities. Third, the significance of history. The Lincoln penny represents more than just money. It embodies American heritage, artistry, and resilience through changing times. As we dive deeper into the 1977 penny's journey, let us imagine the process at the Philadelphia Mint. Picture massive presses stamping blank copper planchets with Abraham Lincoln's face. Imagine the speed and force with which millions were struck daily. Most were bagged, shipped, and spent within weeks. Yet a small number may have been set aside, untouched, stored carefully, and eventually rediscovered by collectors decades later. Each step along this path adds to the mystery of how one penny could rise to legendary status. The modern coin market has also played a role in fueling the value of such coins. With online auctions, global bidding, and investment firms entering the numismatic world, prices for rare coins have soared. Collectors in Europe, Asia, and the Middle East compete with American buyers, driving values higher than ever. The 1977 no-mint mark penny stands as a shining example of how globalization has influenced coin collecting. Now let us pause and consider the emotional side of this discovery. Imagine being the person who found the $36 million penny. Perhaps it was hidden in a box of old change inherited from a grandparent. Perhaps it was discovered by chance while sorting through a jar. The realization that such an ordinary object could hold life-changing wealth must have been overwhelming. Stories like this capture our imagination and remind us why treasure hunting has always been part of human nature. Today, collectors continue to search for more examples of rare 1977 no-mint mark pennies. While it is unlikely that another coin will reach the exact same astronomical price, there remains strong demand for high-grade examples. Even a penny valued at several $1,000s can make a huge difference to the finder. That is why the message is clear. Always check your change. Always look closely. Because you never know when fortune will smile upon you in the form of a humble 1-cent piece. As we conclude this 35-minute journey, remember that the story of the 1977 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is not only about money. It is about history, craftsmanship, rarity, and the thrill of discovery. From the design created in 1909, to the pressing of copper in 1977, to the auction floor where collectors bid millions, this coin has lived a life as rich and complex as the nation it represents. And so, the next time you hold a penny in your hand, do not dismiss it as mere change. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating coins ever to pass through the hands of collectors and historians alike, the 1976 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny coin. This coin has a rich story that ties into American history, the artistry of coin design, and the thrilling world of rare coin values. This is not just a simple penny, this is a piece of American culture that has grown to be valued at an astonishing $84 million. And in this video we are going to explore exactly how this small copper coin achieved such an incredible place in history. To begin our journey, let us go back to the origins of the Lincoln cent. The story of this coin stretches all the way back to 1909, when the United States Mint first introduced the Lincoln 1-cent coin designed by Victor David Brenner. The coin was originally created to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Lincoln was the very first real historical figure to be placed on a regularly circulating American coin. Prior to that, most coins bore images of allegorical figures like Liberty. The arrival of Lincoln's portrait on the cent was a groundbreaking decision, and it set the tone for how American coinage would evolve throughout the 20th century. Fast forward to the mid-1970s, the United States was going through a period of reflection and celebration as the bicentennial year of 1976 approached. The entire nation was gearing up to celebrate 200 years of independence with fireworks, parades, and commemorations. The United States Mint was heavily involved in this patriotic celebration, releasing special bicentennial designs for quarters, half dollars, and dollars. However, the penny was not given a bicentennial redesign. It continued to carry the familiar Lincoln bust on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But here is where the story becomes fascinating. While the penny remained unchanged in design, certain rare anomalies began to surface among collectors. The 1976 Lincoln cent, struck without a mint mark, became one of the most sought after and mysterious coins in circulation. Typically, coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint did not carry a mint mark, while those from Denver bore a D and those from San Francisco carried an S-proof mark. However, in 1976, a small number of coins that should have displayed a mint mark simply did not, and this created a numismatic legend. The no mint mark variety of the 1976 penny soon began to attract the attention of coin collectors across the nation, and what might have seemed like a tiny detail to the casual observer became the foundation for one of the most valuable coins in American numismatic history. Imagine holding a penny in your hand that looks like every other penny, but upon closer inspection you notice the absence of a mint mark. That single detail is the difference between a 1-cent coin and a multi-million-dollar treasure. As we continue exploring the history of this coin, it is important to understand the production methods of the United States Mint. In 1976, coinage was mass-produced in enormous numbers. Billions of pennies were struck, yet even with such mass production, the process was not flawless. Dies could be misaligned, mint marks could be omitted, and other small errors could occur. It was through one of these rare production mishaps that the 1976 no mint mark Lincoln penny came into existence, and with such a limited number of examples surviving today, its value has skyrocketed to unimaginable heights. So how did this penny rise to the staggering value of $84 million? Rarity alone is not the full explanation. It is a combination of rarity, historical significance, collector demand, and the symbolic nature of the year 1976. Collectors place immense value on coins tied to major national events, and the bicentennial year holds a special place in American memory. The absence of a mint mark transforms the penny from a common everyday coin into a once-in-a-lifetime collectible, and when wealthy collectors compete for ownership, the price climbs higher and higher, reaching record-breaking sums. Now let us dive deeper into the design of the coin. On the obverse we have the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. This image has remained iconic for over a century, representing leadership, perseverance, and the enduring values of the nation. Lincoln's portrait is simple yet powerful, and when paired with the date 1976, it becomes even more meaningful, as it marks 200 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence. On the reverse we see the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo, a monument that itself symbolizes unity and resilience in American history. Together, the design elements create a coin that is not only functional currency but also a tiny piece of art and heritage. Collectors who have examined the 1976 no mint mark penny closely point out that the details of the strike vary depending on the die used. Some examples are sharp with crisp details, while others may show slight softness, yet all share the one defining feature: the missing mint mark. These variations add layers of intrigue and value, especially when combined with the condition of the coin. Mint state examples with high grades are valued exponentially higher than circulated examples, and the few pristine coins that have survived are the ones commanding astronomical values in the marketplace. Over the decades, the story of this penny has spread beyond coin shows and collector magazines. It has appeared in mainstream news stories, documentaries, and auctions where its value has stunned audiences around the globe. Imagine an everyday penny, the same kind you might find under your couch cushions, suddenly being revealed as a multi-million-dollar artifact. The very idea captures the imagination of people everywhere, fueling more interest and driving collectors to search through their spare change, hoping to uncover a fortune. The world of coin collecting often operates on a mixture of science, history, and a little bit of magic. The science comes from the careful grading, authentication, and study of the coins. The history comes from understanding the cultural and political context in which they were minted, and the magic comes from those rare discoveries that defy the odds. The 1976 no mint mark penny embodies all three, and that is why it has reached the status of legend. Now let us talk about the market value in detail. At one time, this coin might have only been worth a few $100s, but as the years passed, collectors began to recognize its extreme rarity. Auctions began to push the price into the millions, and as time went on and the number of surviving examples dwindled, its value soared. Today, the highest known sale of a 1976 no-mint mark Lincoln cent has reached an astonishing $84 million, making it one of the most valuable coins ever sold. This price is not only a reflection of the coin's rarity, but also a testament to the passion of collectors who are willing to pay any price to own such a treasure. What makes this story even more compelling is the possibility that there are still undiscovered examples of the 1976 no-mint mark penny out there in circulation somewhere in a forgotten jar of coins or in the back of an old drawer. People may unknowingly be sitting on a fortune. That single cent could change a life forever, and that dream of discovery continues to drive interest in the coin community. To fully appreciate the impact of this coin, we also need to look at how it has influenced modern coin collecting. In the past, collectors might have focused on silver dollars or large cents, but the legend of the 1976 no-mint mark penny has shown that even the smallest denomination can become the centerpiece of a collection. It has inspired new generations of collectors to look more closely at their change, to study mint marks, to learn about die varieties, and to appreciate the artistry of American coinage. As we draw nearer to the conclusion of this story, let us reflect on the symbolism of this tiny coin struck in a year when America was celebrating its 200th birthday. It represents resilience, the resilience of a nation that endured wars and challenges to reach that milestone. It represents history, reminding us of Abraham Lincoln and his enduring leadership, and it represents opportunity, the chance that an ordinary object can transform into something extraordinary. The story of the 1976 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny coin is one of history, rarity, passion, and value. From its origins in the bicentennial era to its current status as a multi-million-dollar masterpiece, this coin captures the imagination of collectors and non-collectors alike. It is more than just metal, it is a story told in copper, a reminder of the enduring fascination people have with tangible pieces of history. So, the next time you come across a penny, do not dismiss it as just spare change. Take a closer look, check the date, check the mint mark, because who knows, maybe, just maybe, you could be holding the next great treasure in your hands. The world of coin collecting has proven time and again that incredible discoveries are possible, and the 1976 no-mint mark penny stands as the ultimate example of that truth. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the history, design, and extraordinary value of the 1976 no-mint mark Lincoln penny coin.